I'm just, I'm just going to hand it over to you rather than waste time with me talking, because we already are giving you less time than we promised. So take it away. And Zach, do you need to be made co-host so you can share your screen?
Yes, please. Also, if you didn't get up and dance and you need your stretch, I wasn't sitting with you the whole time in worship, but certainly you can feel free to take your biological need space, or moving the body, or hitting the restroom, or whatever might be helpful for you. I'll try to make it so you don't need another cup of coffee. I don't think you will. It's a very exciting time, and we have big opportunities in front of us. So I'm really grateful for Reverend Jane's invitation to be with you all today. I'm Reverend Zachary Hoover. You can call me Zach. I'm the Executive Director of LA Voice. I'm ordained in the American Baptist tradition, and really happy to be with you today. Let's see, am I good to screen share? Awesome, yes. So let's do a screen share. It would help me. Actually, you all are really good on your names. So while I'm pulling up the screen share, would you please just put one thing in the chat, like 2 words, 1 word, that lifted you from your experience in worship today while I'm setting up my slideshow. So put 1 or 2 words in the chat of something that refers to what lifted you from your service today. That. Nice. It's so good to see all that. It helps me also get a better sense of the full experience, which I did not get. So I'm really grateful. I love that final hymn, so that made my day. Wonderful. All right, let's share the screen. You can keep chatting those in. That's totally fine. Can you see this? This work? Wonderful. Okay. So this is us and you. We're going to have a conversation today. We're going to just review what we're trying to get out of this time together and the agenda. We always do a POP for everything: purpose, outcomes, process. Process just means agenda. So 1 is we're actually getting to know each other. So I should have put St. Luke's knows LA Voice better, and at least 1 person from LA Voice staff knows you all better. I've known your clergy for quite some time, so it's great to get to know more of you. We hope that you all are in a position, both in your spirit, kind of inspiration, as well as knowledge, to impact the life of our people via faith votes over the next 37 days. And the other thing that Reverend Jane said was really important about this conversation is it's one step amongst many to support you all as you continue to create your bridge from the undoing racism work you've been doing internally more fully into the habits and discipline of organizing our anti-racist power, so we can change the systems and structures that are holding things in place. So this is our agenda. We've already done welcome and intros. We're reviewing the POP right now. I'm going to say a quick prayer. I'm going to share a little bit about myself and why this moment matters to me, try to model a bit my story, kind of us and now. And then I've got a couple videos to show you about our racial justice agenda, which are props 15, yes, 20, no, Jay, yes. We'll go through a few other things, including talking about 100% voting congregations, 100% congregations, which I know you've heard that language already, and relationships. And we're going to end with you thinking about your own why. Like, what is your deeper reason, your own story for why these next 37 days are crucial to you and the ones that you love? And then we'll close in prayer. So what time, Jane, should I be done by?
We really need to be done by noon because we've got Spanish worship at 12:30.
Okay. I might not show you the videos. All right, I'm not going to show you the videos. Okay. So let's start with this. I think it's important for you to think about, I loved what what Nancy said at the end, that I missed the second part, but the world is too dangerous for anything but truth. So sometimes when we get into the last month before an election and we want to do something, we get really caught up in like, I don't know that policy that well, or I need more stuff in my head. But the truth is, the truth you have in your heart is the most powerful thing that you have access to. And so the question that I often start with is, how does this election present an opportunity for you all as a community to lead with each other, others in your community, toward the vision you have for beloved community? So everything is an opportunity for that. And if it's just about some policy and it's not about the deeper yearning in our hearts for a better world, a place where there's greater kinship and belonging, that's really what's driving our desire to be helping pass propositions or defeat propositions, for me at least, it becomes not as full and it doesn't give me as much life. So this is a question for you to think on. You can, we'll share these slides out, but you can also jot it down. Really be asking yourself this question, like, what is the leadership to our vision opportunity here? So I'm not going to go through these fully, but there's really, I like to refer to the scripture of that we're called to be wise as serpents and simple as doves. And really engaging in some of this political stuff, it's a lot like that. We have our dove reasons and we've got our serpent reasons. And, our dove reasons are about all these things, our own cry to God, our people's cry to God, just as the Hebrew slaves cry out to God and God hears them and responds. Our own testimony and witness that Black lives matter to us and matter to God, that brown lives matter to us and matter to God, right? That all lives matter to us and matter to God without erasing that Black lives matter to all of us and to God. Taking responsibility for ourselves before we try to push others. So let's look at our own house. What can we be doing at St. Luke's to make our work more powerful? Pledging to vote as an act of faith as part of my community and the fact that our dignity demands it. So in democracy, we also know it's a numbers game. So this is kind of the stuff that's like, quote unquote, of the world, as the scripture might say. So we win or lose after the count that starts on November 3rd. That's just period. That's how it goes. Now, I'm not talking about anything related to candidates for any of this conversation, okay? Just we're talking about propositions and our ability to win, but that's true generally on candidate sides as well. The other is everybody else is counting your votes, whether you are or not. It's public information whether you vote. It's not like some secret thing or like something they sneak out of you when you sign up on some website. It's on the rolls of the registrar that we have access to. So if you sent me your name, I can look you up. I can see if you voted or not. I'm not going to do that, which means politicians know if you vote or not. They know if your community votes or not, and it directly affects how much they care about you, politically speaking. So obviously your ability to achieve your purpose in Long Beach and beyond relates to this. And the last thing is like, how do we know if we're growing our ability to deliver for our people? Like, we want good things for our people. And one question is, well, how do we know if we're capable of delivering it and getting better at that? Well, one way is by counting what we do in elections. It's not the only thing, but it's one way. All right. Okay, so let me share a little bit myself, and I'm going to stop the screen share now. Everybody with me? Great, thank you. Let's see, so yeah, I will definitely share, oh, that was for somebody else, I think, okay. So, all right, so who's Zach? Who's this person that you're talking to? Why does he care about this? Why does he want to talk to us? When I was 16 years old, growing up in Plainfield, Indiana, it's a white middle-class suburb on the west side of Indianapolis. Do I have any other fellow Midwesterners on here? Or are y'all Californians? Oh, hey, there's one. There might be others on the other screens. I saw Brad's hand. So when I was 16, I ended up at Jesuit high school, and Mr. Frizzell Brown, who still teaches at Brebeuf Jesuit, began to invest in both my spiritual journey as a mentor, as well as my racial journey. He was the first Black teacher I ever had, and he was the first Black mentor that I had in my life. And he, through a series of experiences and investing in my understanding my identity, I knew I was white, but I didn't know it meant something from an institutional and structural point of view, like that I got things because rules were written a certain way that other people didn't get, including other people that I was now friends with and cared about. And so I began to see that I had been lied to about who had what, how much, and why. And that I had been told that it was all about people's hard work, or what they did or didn't do, or what was wrong or right with them. And Mr. Brown helped me to start to uncover the fact that that was not really a description of what was going on, as well as my relationship with the kid I was tutoring in a Black community in Los Angeles. That kid's name was Marcos. So I saw that these rules were written for the benefit of some and not for others. I didn't really have language for it, but I could tell that this was about a lot more than what I had been told, and that the reason my neighborhood looked a certain way and Marcos's looked a different way had to do a lot more with things that had happened before the adults who were raising us than the adults who were raising us. It was much later when I became an organizer, but honestly, it was a prayer I said at 16 after coming home from working with Marcos one day and a conversation with Mr. Brown that led me to ask God to show me how to do something about this thing that I was beginning to see. So I became an organizer after divinity school, kind of really by the grace of God, found Faith in Action National Network, which I've been part of now for 15 years or something like that, doing community organizing with congregations of all sorts, Christians, Muslims, Jews, and some non-religious organizations as well. So I'm going to speed this up, but basically, I have a 5-year-old son named Andres. He's in the other room right now. You might hear him in the background. And I think that these 37 days are consequential in the work that we've been doing leading up to it, because I want him to grow up in a county that's better than the one that I've been living in for the last 13 years, in a Southern California that's better than the one I've been living in for the last 15, 16 years, that sees every friend he has and him as a full human being and treats him as such, that gets him the things he needs rather than treat him with punishment because he is or isn't able to do a particular thing without the resources that he needs, that makes sure that whatever happens in his life, he's going to have shelter. That's the kind of county I want to live in. And, yesterday, 2 days ago, I got a text from Zenaida, who's a woman we met at the park a few months ago, who's living out of her car in Altadena. She's got COVID now, and she's been homeless since the woman whose care she provided passed away, and the family no longer had reason to employ her. She's not been able to find any work. Her documentation status is in question, and I want Zenaida to have shelter, real shelter. So these things are on the ballot. They're on the ballot right now, and we've got 37 days to make an impact. I think the last thing I'd say is that the calling in my life is about this mission of helping to build a society where we all are fully seen, we all belong, we all have an opportunity for abundant life, which means we got to work on racial equity. And these 37 days are just part of that bigger mission and my desire to live out my life in I make lots of mistakes, but insofar as I can in an anti-racist way. So the opportunity for all of us in this moment, I think, is to grow our power, to live out our calling and our ministry, and to do a little bit more to build the beloved community together. So let's move on, 11:52. So I want each of you, please, to be thinking about your why. Forget about the propositions for a second and think about just what's really driving you in your heart to either vote the way you're going to vote or engage others within your community and beyond, and thinking with them and encouraging them to vote in particular ways on the propositions. I'm not talking about candidates again. So let's go back to the screen share and keep moving it along. And also for any of us that are in leadership, and that is not just your clergy, as you all know, that's not just the people on your board. It's anybody who is acting in public together with others to try to achieve purpose. So many of you, maybe all of you, are leaders, and everybody on here is capable of being one. So you also have a responsibility to tell people why you're doing what you're doing. So here's our racial justice agenda for the fall. LA Voice, which is 70 churches, synagogues, mosques, and other organizations, mostly of justice system impacted people across LA County, part of the broader Faith in Action Network, which your rector sits on the national board of. We we believe that there's three big things we can do on the ballot. There's a lot of important stuff on the ballot, but also powerful people are choiceful people. So we got to make some choices. That if we do these three things, we will have very positive outcomes in terms of undoing racist systems or and creating anti-racist systems within our county. So first of all, Prop 15. Raise your hand if you've heard of Prop 15 already. It's all out there. The opposition has $150 million. I hope you heard from us first, but it's likely you didn't. LA Times just endorsed, which was cool. Great article last week. Basically, in the late 70s, once California was taken to court and could no longer segregate its schools, the Serrano case, if you want to check it out, basically we figured out how to segregate our dollars. So Prop 13 will undo the corporate property tax loophole size. Basically what it does is it asks corporations to pay their fair share. And most of the money comes from big corporations that are paying the same property taxes today, Disney, for example, as they were in 1978, which is wild. So it will reclaim about, I want to say pandemic numbers are lower, but between $2 and $4 billion a year for LA County, which includes a big chunk for Long Beach Unified, for Long Beach City, for LA County, every single year. Money that if Prop 13 had never passed, we would have. Prop 15 protects homeowners. Your home is fine. And all small business owners whose property holdings are $3 million or under. I can show you more charts if you have questions about this. No on Prop 20. Prop 20 is basically an attack on transformational justice victories that all of us Californians have won together since 2014. It rolls back large parts of Proposition 47 and 57. Basically what it does is it says, well, we know that a vast majority of Californians said that we don't think we should be sending people to a decade of prison for shoplifting under $900. We don't agree with that because we run those prisons and we put the people in those prisons. So we would like to roll that back. So my friend Debbie, who lives in the Central Valley, who spent 12 years in prison for shoplifting, about $700 worth of things, she will not only end up with a felony back on her record if this passes instead of a misdemeanor, but people like Debbie, when she was at her young, impressionable age and did that behavior, will end up with much higher consequences and will take us backwards. It's also a huge waste of money. So we're going to give you lots more tools on this stuff. So we're saying no on Prop 20 because why would we go back to a more racially inequitable policy than the one we have? Okay, 1156. The last is a local measure. This is why it's measure, not proposition. Measure J. Raise your hand if you've heard of Measure J. Anybody heard of Measure J? Yeah, makes sense. We haven't heard of it. It's a county measure. So it's not like, you know, the big spending that you get on the state propositions. You're not going to see it like on your Facebook feed as often, or CNN or whatever TV station you're watching. Measure J does something very cool that no other county in the country has done. It says, of all the money we raise as a county locally from our taxes that you and I pay, our sales tax, our property taxes, all the other ways that the county raises money, not the money we get from the state and the feds, we're going to take a tithe. They don't use this language, but I do. We're going to take a tithe of that, 10%, and we're going to put it toward alternatives to incarceration, which we already have a framework for thanks to good organizing, affordable housing. Soneida gets a roof, maybe. 3, in economic investments based on a racial equity framework with the specific focus on the Black communities of LA County. Okay, if that doesn't sound good to you, well, you might have questions, but it sounds really good to me. And check this out, if we win Prop 15 and we get another $2 to $4 billion into the county, guess what? We've also just guaranteed that at least a chunk of it is going to go to these things instead of like increasing other budgets of systems that are not working for our people. All right, so 1158, let me see what's like maybe the last thing or two I want to say here. Skip. Okay, let's do the 1, 2, 3. Like, so what for you? and we can do more later. Your leaders have access to lots of great information, and I'm going to give you an invitation as well. So with 37 days to go, and I just want to say the election, some people are saying the election is in 37 days. Wrong. The election is today and tomorrow, the day after, and the closer we get to November 3rd, the harder it is for us to win. The sooner we talk to our people and get clear about what we want to tell them about why this matters to us. Our people might be people you see on the screen, might be your family, might be your friends. The sooner you do it, the better. The polling shows that when the opposition gets to our folks first, it gets a lot harder for us to win. And they are basically not straight up lying, but it's like about as close as you can get legally without doing so. And I'm happy to send you sheets that prove that. If you're like, well, I don't know about that, I'm happy to show you the data. So with 37 days left, it's like, we got to just do it. Pick one doable thing every day. Yes, we do have a voter guide. So here's three options, and then I'm going to give you one opportunity. The first is, right now, I'm going to put in the chat box a link to a pledge card in English, the first one, and in Spanish, the second one, that I would invite you to fill out. This is something that I would encourage you to see as something you're doing as a community together. This is a pledge to vote. And if you are comfortable, it's a pledge to vote yes on this racial justice agenda, which means yes on 15, no on 20, yes on J. This is a great tool for fellow members of the congregation. I think you all may be sending this out via congregational announcement. And it's also a great tool to engage your friends and family with. It allows you to have a conversation. And the cool thing too is it counts. You know, we talked earlier about like they know if you're voting, like what counts and what doesn't count. We count all the voter contacts we make. So then we can say to county supervisors, Long Beach City Council, assembly members, senators, this is how many people we talk to. So we'll actually be able to tell you, we'll give you a number back. This is how many voters St. Luke's of Long Beach talked to. Next time you go in and you needed to negotiate something with city council for your people. So we have this pledge card. The second thing is texting. Lots of us do it. It's a great way to engage with people that we know. It's annoying if it's a stranger. So we have tools to help you text your friends and family. There's this thing we use called Outvote, but basically like if you're really technologically like, if your story to yourself is that you're technologically challenged, then we have other ways for you to do it and still record it so that it quote unquote counts and goes into the big roll up count of like what St. Luke's did. So you can kind of carry that around with you. We'll share a tool around that. And then the third thing is good old phone calls. And I have not yet coordinated with, or I don't know, you all probably know what the plan is in terms of talking to each other, whether you're going to do the 100% congregation pledge and say, we want to talk to every single member of the congregation first before we start talking to people outside, but we're prepared to help you set up that phone bank. And the cool thing is, and here's the opportunity, last thing, 1202, man, I really cut this down, is that every Tuesday we have sorry for patting myself on the back there, just like, hey, we have a faith votes gathering and activation every Tuesday evening at 6:30 p.m. from the comfort of your own home on your Zoom, which everyone who's on right now is clearly capable of accessing. And what we do is we ground in our spirit and in the spirit. We connect with each other. We take a few minutes to go into small groups and have a quick conversation. So you get to meet people from other congregations, from our multiracial and multi-faith network across the county, and we engage voters. We talk to them about why this matters and ask them, can we count on you to vote with us for this racial justice agenda? And y'all, they're mail-in ballots a week from Monday. A week from Monday, October 5th, which means it's a lot earlier than usual. which means whatever we can do over the next 2 weeks and whatever we can do every day after that is going to matter. It's going to be really close. So talking even just to one person a day, whatever it is, I promise you, it will matter. They're counting on us not doing that. So let me end with this. I think what's exciting about being invited into a space with you and into your community to partner with you on this work is that I'm interested in being in relationship with, and LA Voice is interested in being in relationship with congregations that are trying to make anti-racism a habit of the heart. A habit of the heart. But yeah, it's about 37 days, but we have 37 years of work ahead, I'm sure. And our commitment each day is training us for our commitment each year. Every decision we make will help us next year in what we have ahead, both in our own heart, your collective heart is St. Luke's, as well as, frankly, the second part to this, which is growing our power, making that a habit of the heart. Right before I tuned in with you, I was on with Pastor Gary Williams of St. Mark UMC, South Los Angeles, good friend of ours, does tons of amazing work with justice system impacted folks. And he said, God has offered you power. Godly power, not ungodly power. God has offered you power. Claim it. Claim it. Let's claim it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zach. Your ability to move through a lot of relational and complicated stuff and ground it in who we are as God's people is awesome. Our work now will be to use the tools to get them out and to follow through on saying yes to some of the invitations that you have given us this morning. So people of God who have hung in for an extended morning, thank you. Zach, who made time, and to your family who was generous enough to share Sunday morning with your work and the broader faith community, thank them too. But deep gratitude, and we are on a journey of the heart. So may we